All right. Um, Olachukumbo, can you hear now?
Yeah, I think it's because nobody was speaking at the
Or
time.
speaking?
It's been a couple of minutes, so maybe we want to start.
All right, great. Good
Should
afternoon,
we be?
everybody. My name is Victoria, and you are welcome to another webinar with Optimus by Afriverse. So today we'll be looking at the impact of cybersecurity on your personal finance, and we're looking at this from a consumer's perspective. Now, if you've ever asked us questions like, "Oh, why do you guys need my BVN? Somebody called me. How am I sure it's Optimus or it's not Optimus? Or what kind of details should I give out? What kind of details are not acceptable? How are my funds being protected? And all of those kind of questions. This is the place for you. And even beyond Optimus, it's important that you learn cybersecurity in this day and age where social engineering is becoming a thing. So quickly, I will know that we brought seasoned people to speak with you, not people that try to not know the job. These are people that are executives in this role, and it's a great privilege to have them here. So I would read their biography. Why? Why the Sarah, his camera is currently turned on. So I'm just going to read his biography so that you will know that we give you guys the best and then you actually listen. Bring your jotter and your book and just be writing it down because you're about to receive nuggets in just two funny voice. Jot things down, like just jot it down. Jot it down. All right. Warren is a highly accomplished senior IT manager based in Lagos, Nigeria, with a track record of driving digital transformation and optimizing IT operations to deliver tangible business results. With a comprehensive skill and encompassing IT leadership strategy, risk management, please, for every investment person, you should be here. Vendor management, cloud engineering, security, compliance, and more. Warren stands as a dynamic leader in the technological space. Currently, he serves as the Assistant Vice President and Group Chief Information Officer at Afriverse and is very knowledgeable. I can tell you that for free. He has delivered exceptional outcomes, including substantial cost reduction, heightened security, successful cloud migration. His IT innovations have generated substantial revenue growth, and his leadership has elevated IT efficiency and resilience. Warren has also worked in pivotal places like Law Union and Rock Insurance PLC, Avids, etc. He also demonstrated expertise in managing their infrastructure with an academic foundation from Middlesex University, and he's currently learning at Lagos Business School. Warren has great achievements and is someone you would want to listen to when it comes to cybersecurity. So quick one, when we're having a dry run yesterday, I got to see a bit of the script. And I always pride myself in the fact that I like to read, especially when it comes to cybersecurity, so I'll not be hacked. But then Warren was just dishing out nuggets, and I'm like, really, who is not here is the one that is missing. Who is not here is missing because you're about to be blown. And now second our second speaker, Michael Onwuzuruke. Michael works with one of the companies that we partner with at Afriverse Africa Limited for cybersecurity. And the name of the company is NetHost Limited. Michael is also very knowledgeable, and I'm just going to also read out his biography. He's a result-driven professional and has a track record in fields of he's proficient in guiding organizations through the process of implementation. He's also great with IT governance, risk management, and business continuity. He's great with helping you protect your data. So data compliance, like ask us question again, like why do you need my BVN? What details do I need to give out? Please listen because data protection compliance will teach us how to go about that. Right? And he has several professional accomplishments, like he has led multiple organizations through and implemented several IT governance. Has also spearheaded risk management initiatives and so on and so forth. So without further ado, help me welcome our two speakers. I'm about to close my video, like turn up my video, mute myself with my book. I wish I could show you my book, but my book and my pen to jot things down. Like I need to jot things down so that tomorrow when I'm speaking, I'm in public and I'm talking about cybersecurity, they will not know that it's something that I've heard from this webinar that I'm talking about. Just yesterday, something that they said in our gyro, and I picked it up. I started talking about it to someone, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're quite knowledgeable." And I'm like, "Yeah." If only you know that I was just writing on the well of someone's wealth of knowledge. So thank you very much, everyone. I promise you that you set yourself for a good time. Please listen, and if you have questions, write down. We'll definitely answer them. Thank you very much. Thank you, Warren. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Victoria. That was a wonderful introduction. As usual, you're very hyped. So I couldn't expect less. So thank you so much. So we're going to engage today. The idea is that we walk you through a journey. First of all, understanding what cybersecurity is, and then subsequently explaining how it impacts you on a personal level. And then thirdly, getting you to appreciate why you should be aware of it. And then finally, talking through case studies, examples, talking you through examples of, incidences and, cases that have occurred in Nigeria in recent past. We're going to go through this presentation or this webinar from two angles. We're going to go through it from a technical angle. So we will discuss what threats and vulnerabilities are, and obviously talk, sort of walk you through how to safeguard your personal finance using Optimus. And then we will also walk you through the compliance, regulatory, and legal angle. These three are actually related. We'll discuss regulations and best practices, and obviously the implications for you as a consumer or a customer. And we'll also discuss and talk through examples and case studies for that. Then we will bring this conversation to a close after we have gone through all of this, and then take your questions later on. So I'll start by saying that, from a consumer perspective, obviously, cybersecurity is very important. Why? Because you have an app called Optimus, you invest using Optimus, you put your money there, and you want to be sure that whatever money you are investing is actually safe, right? So the digital age, in this digital age, there's a lot of fintechs out there. It's important for you to be able to identify very easily, or at least from a very basic level, who is secure and who is not secure, who to go with, who not to go with, how to, so that it helps you to understand, where you're putting your money and how secure their environment is, right? So we will start first of all by talking about cybersecurity. So cybersecurity, what is cybersecurity, right? So there are two words that have obviously merged or fused together to become one word, cybersecurity. So what exactly is cybersecurity? So from the definition, cybersecurity is it's the practice of defending, computers, networks, servers, IoT, mobile devices, electronic systems, anything really that talks to the internet or talks to each other, from malicious attacks, right? Cybersecurity can also be defined as information security, right? So when we talk about information security, we're also talking about cybersecurity, right? So, or electronic information technology, right? So all of these things, it's still cybersecurity at the end of the day, right? So the term applies to, in various contexts, right? From enterprise business to somebody's hands is raised. Victoria, somebody's hands is raised.
Right, I think you should continue. I'll just attend to the person.
Okay. All right. So from enterprise business all the way down to the mobile phone or the tabs that you have in your hands, right? So cybersecurity affects us in different ways. Your television, your smart fridge, your smartphone, your tabs, your laptops, your computers, your routers, anything that you use really to interconnect or to connect to the internet is impacted by cybersecurity in one way or the other. And through this webinar, we're going to explain how all of this happens, right? So very quickly, I'll talk us through the importance of cybersecurity for you as a consumer, right? The cybersecurity is it's in two parts. There is obviously the defense part, then there is the attack part. The attack part is obviously where you're talking about it from a malicious angle, right? So you've heard the word hackers, you've heard about threats, you've heard about issues with maybe some banks or some fintechs and things like this, right? But for the purpose of this webinar, we're going to be talking about cybersecurity from a defense perspective. And what we're going to be doing is bringing out what you should understand, right? Highlighting it to ensure that you are able to understand it in a very simple way. So it's basically that line of defense, right, against hackers, identity thieves, and other threat actors, right? People who are looking to, steal your money or looking to exploit vulnerabilities with technologies that you use, right, or different platforms, right? And one of the things that you should be aware of, right, in cybersecurity is that there are actually measures, simple measures that you can take to ensure that you're keeping yourself safe, not just on the internet, but also ensuring that wherever you're putting your money is indeed very safe and secure, right? From a very basic level of if you're browsing the internet, you want to ensure that you have whatever, so like if you go on optimus.ng, for example, which is our website, you will see that padlock on the address line, right? So it's an SSL certificate, right? So always make sure that websites that you're dealing with, right, have an SSL certificate. Also make sure that so for example, there are certain times where you will type in the address of a website and it will tell you that, oh, this website you're trying to access is not safe. That's an example, that's an indication that there is something obviously wrong. If you ever go into a website and it tells you that, oh, the website you're browsing, the browser is telling you that, oh, the website you're browsing isn't safe, I would advise you to actually just click away or close that tab. The reason is because there is a strong possibility that even if it's a genuine website, their security certificate is either not up to date or that website actually is under attack. So it's always important to have all of this knowledge. It's also important to understand your rights as a consumer in terms of data privacy, right? You actually have rights as far as data privacy is concerned. Very early on this year, when the new administration came on board, I think one of the first acts that was signed by the president was the Nigerian Data Protection Act 2023. And that act actually protects your rights as a consumer in terms of how your data is being used or how it's being managed. You actually have rights as a consumer to ensure that whoever has your data is using it for the specific purpose that they have told you they are going to use it. If they're using it for any other purpose beyond that, then you should, that's a red flag and something that you should actually pull up, right? Just moving on, I will talk about the technical angle of cybersecurity, right? So there are different types of cyber threats, right? Whether it is phishing has to do with email, right? So I'm sure many of us have seen emails in our inboxes where maybe the mail actually looks like it's coming from a financial institution that we we are used to, or a financial institution that we know, or a financial institution that we save or invest our money with. And what they would do is send an email, disguise it to look like it's coming from a genuine source. And inside that email, they are either asking you to supply an information, or they're asking you to click on the link to take you somewhere else. One of the ways to be able to detect a phishing email is to look at the email address. Where is it coming from? Obviously, you need to be very sure, right? You need to be very conversant about the brands that you're doing business with, right? So for Optimus, for example, our domain name is optimus.ng. But if you see an email coming from an Optimus with a double P, an Optimus with a double O, or an Optimus.za or something like that, then you should obviously beware, right? You should know that, yes, something is fishy, and you should delete that email or escalate it to the Optimus customer service help desk. So that's an example of phishing. For malware, sometimes it comes through email, sometimes it comes through websites that you visit. But typically these days, malware comes through email. They will send you an email from, again, a financial institution that that you're likely to either do business with, or you're aware of, and they will send you an email and make it look like, they will say maybe something like, you have been approved for a loan, or if you open an account with us, we will give you 5,000 naira or something like that, right? I always have this thing at the back of my mind. If it's free, you should look at it a little bit more closely, right? So you need to be aware of so malware. What they do is that they disguise these emails, and they would put in links in these emails. The idea is that they want you to click on it. Now, when you click on it, what happens is that it downloads a software, which is what you call a malware. Download the software to your computer without your knowledge, right? And this software will sit in your computer, waiting for something to happen. It could either be waiting for you to type in your password, maybe into your email or into your online banking. And as you're typing your password, it's actually recording your keystrokes and sending it back to whoever sent you that email, so that once you're done with your transactions, they will just log in as you and continue. They would obviously infiltrate your account and do all sorts of malicious attacks, right? There is also the obvious one, hacking. Hacking is a deliberate attempt to break into a software or hardware, right? And make it to do what it was not originally designed to do, right? So, for example, maybe trying to log into your Optimus app, for example, and I will talk about this, a little bit more when I'm talking about passwords. Trying to log into your, so maybe they know your username already, and they're trying to guess your password. So that's a form of hacking on a very basic level, right? Social engineering is actually one that is very common these days, right? So what they would typically do is, and this is one advice I'd like you guys to key into. When you download an app from either the iOS or the Play Store, you need to, before you download the app, you need to check what is this app likely to have access to, on your device, right? Some of these apps have access to your camera. Some of these apps have access to your Wi-Fi. Some of these apps have access to your keyboard. Some of these apps have access to things that you don't really know about, right? So before you click on download, you need to look at, so when you get into the Play Store, for example, and you search for an app, you need to read all those things that you typically would skip. Read it. It tells you what that app is likely to have access to. If you're not comfortable with the app having access to any of those things, please don't download the app. The reason is because if you give the app access to any of those things that you're not comfortable with them having access to, there is a strong likelihood that through those through those things on your device that you typically ordinarily would not give them permission to, they can actually hack your password. Now, in terms of social engineering, it goes beyond hacking a little bit, right? So they would ask for, it's almost like somebody trying to get to know you, right, online. Social engineering happens everywhere, not just online, even offline, right? So somebody trying to, get to know you, maybe, let's even come to the offline, we start from the offline. So somebody maybe walking up to your security, for example, and asking, what do they do here? That person is now spilling the beans, telling them everything that happens in this space, right? Oh, okay. Sometimes it's a business, a marketer who's trying to do a cold call, who would have checked you up on LinkedIn or checked you up on Facebook or whatever, and because they know where you work, they will easily come into your environment, and try to ask people around about information about you. That's social engineering. It also happens on the digital side as well. Social engineering is when somebody is just trying to get information about you that ordinarily you wouldn't put out there. Things like your date of birth, your favorite color, the name of your pet, where you were born, what primary school you went to, your mother's middle name, your father's middle name. Some of these things are actually things that on some of these apps, they will use them as security questions, right? So if people are, and sometimes they gamify it. I don't know if you remember, there was this trend many years ago called My Bride Price, right? And the idea, obviously, they were trying to get data, and thankfully it was for a good purpose, right? But they were trying to get data, right? And so they created this app called My Bride Price, right? And they would ask you certain questions, and you would put, your information in there. Maybe they will ask you, what school did you go to? What neighborhood did you grow up in? If you say Ikoyi, obviously your bride price will go up more. What school did you go to? You could mention the top tier schools in Lagos or wherever you live, and your bride price will obviously go more. This is actually social engineering. They are gathering information that ordinarily you would not put out there, but they found ways to gamify it. They found ways to coerce this information out of you easily and freely without stressing, right? You have to beware with your presence online when you're sharing information. If you're going to share information, you really need to ask, this information, do I really want to put it out there? Because whatever you put out there, I promise you, the internet never forgets. And even if you're sharing information with somebody who is legit or genuine, there's a possibility that that person can be breached. And if that person is breached and your data gets out there, I'm sorry to say that you will be hacked, right? In cybersecurity, we say that there are two types of people, or there are two types of organizations. There are those that have been hacked, and there are those that don't know they've been hacked, right? The question is, which category do you fall into? Have you been hacked, or do you not know yet that you've been hacked? I've been hacked many times, and I have experienced it even as a professional. It's not a pleasant experience, and certainly it's something that when it happens to you, it kind of throws you off a little bit. Identity theft, similar to social engineering, they're trying to steal your identity to clone you, so they can use, your information from your identity, things like your national insurance number, your BVN. These are informations that you really shouldn't be sharing with, very weird platforms. Unfortunately, with the banking rules, if you want to do this, if you want to use any fintech, if you want to use any financial services, if you want to use any banking application, you have to share your BVN with them, right? So you obviously need to do your homework regarding the platform that is asking you about your identity, and you need to make sure that they have a privacy program in place, right? That they have data protection in place, so that whatever data you're sharing with them, you can have you can be rest assured that your data is safe and it's secured, right? There are other types of threats. There are vulnerabilities, the use of weak passwords, you using your name, like my name is Warren, for example, maybe Warren01. I'm sorry, but that password can be hacked in a second. Using a dictionary attack, it can actually be hacked in a second. It's very, very easy to hack people using dictionary attack. What I usually ask people or suggest, we're Nigerians, right? We're Africans. Use your native name. Then use your native name, your native, use words, phrases from your native language. It's a lot easier than using English words, right? If I use the word symphony, for example, symphony 02 as my password, I'm sorry, but that password can be cracked in 1 second. So you need to ensure that the passwords that you're using are strong. Your passwords should include special characters, capital letters, lowercase letters, numbers, that sort of thing. Also, I would like to advise us in this webinar, beware of unsecured Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi in public spaces like hotels, airports, bars, restaurants. People will go into those environments and say, oh, please connect me to your Wi-Fi. Well, I would only connect to a Wi-Fi if my mobile data isn't really working well. It's always better that you put internet on your device and just work from the privacy of your device. But where your device isn't working, then you can opt for things like VPN. If you have a VPN app, if you subscribe for a VPN app, that will protect you against unsecured Wi-Fi. But it's really important that you try not to, if you can avoid it, don't connect to public Wi-Fi if you can, and don't transact on public Wi-Fi if you can avoid it. And if you must, use a VPN application to encrypt your data over the internet. Outdated software. Thankfully, in Optimus, right, we've developed our app in such a way that it forces you to update the app from time to time. When you log into the app after a while, it will tell you to update. When you click on update, it goes to the Play Store, downloads the update, and then allows you to log into the app, right? The reason why we ask you to update your app or to update software is because over time, over time, we continue to make what you call continuous improvements in our processes, in our development, right? So as we're improving our development cycle, our products, right, we begin to use new frameworks, updated frameworks and things like this, right? And so we push the benefits to you as a consumer. So it's always important for you to update your software. Don't say, well, my app was working, has always been working, I'm not going to update it. If you do, there's a likelihood that the version of the app you're using that has not been updated may be breached. And if it's breached, it's obviously your fault because the app was prompting you to update. Right, I'll move on very quickly. How do you protect your personal finance? I mentioned it earlier, use strong passwords. You have to use strong passwords. So if you're going to create a password, make sure that the password has, minimum of the capital letter, minimum of include numerics, include special characters, and make sure that your password is, at least 8 to 10 characters long. That will help you to stay protected online. In fact, some platforms tell you to create password with a 16 digits, 16 character length, if you can. So, but me, I personally would advise, 8 to 10 characters, and try to use a combination of capital letters, numerics, numbers, and special characters. Obviously, multi-factor authentication. I'm sure if you signed up to the Optimus app, they sent you they sent you a token into your email or your mobile phone as an SMS in order for you to authenticate. Multi-factor authentication is really underrated. People just think, this thing is stress. It's an additional thing that will inconvenience me. Actually, it isn't, because if somebody already has your password, but they don't have your multi-factor authentication, then they certainly can't breach you easily, right? Multi-factor authentication is like the tokens that you have from your bank, right? But I still use tokens for some of my banking apps. And when I want to transact, it will ask me to put my token in, and then I put it in, and the transaction becomes successful, right? It's the same thing, always make sure that you use multi-factor authentication where it's available, enable it. That will help you stay more secure online. ensure that you use VPNs. I mentioned this earlier. I'm not going to flog it again. And then ensure that you update your software. So I'm going to bring on my partner, Michael, to talk us through a case study from a technical angle. Michael, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank
All
you,
right,
Mr.
please go
Warren.
ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, for ransomware and case studies on cases like this, we've had so many and several cases, and one of which I would like to take it from the angle of which Mr. Warren actually made emphasis on is the update of software, which is an approach that I am really pleased about. What Optimus took, that it is automatic, like you are forced to use the updates because I don't know how many of us remember the breach that occurred 2017 about WannaCry that targeted Microsoft systems. All right, and for that breach, that particular breach, it didn't affect, of course, all the Microsoft system it attempted to attack. Why? Because those ones that are that resisted the attack have already updated their system because an update was sent 2 months earlier when the attack happened, and so those ones that were unable to, for one reason unknown to them or the other, or they were like me as at that time, because trust me, my own update is remind me later, remind me later, remind me later. So those remind me later guys were attacked, and 230,000 persons were affected. So they encrypt your data in your system and ask you to pay a ransom of 300, and later they saw that it was working. They increased it to $600. So imagine that they successfully got $300 for 230,000 persons. That's about $69 million. I mean, just sending out an attack. So that is one really core important about um, system updates, software updates, application updates, because some of these things are inconvenient to us. We just see software updates. Oh, these people have come again. What is all of this? And we just ignore it or just click later. Just do everything else to avoid it. But um, this is against what we are trying to prevent, because when we from our own point, that is from the optimal point, when we see that there's a new security patch, we embed it into the system because that is what is naturally expected from you, our users. All right, so it comes as an update to you, which you are supposed to update, so as to integrate into the new security patches that we have done in our system. So it's just like a hen, covering all the chick. I mean, the one that wasn't covered, the hawk will take it away. So that is the cases of those that have updated their software and those that have not updated their software. And in this part, Optimus, we are saying that no, all the chicken must, we must cover everything, whether you like it or not. You know, you'll be part of those protected against these hawks, because these guys, they never sleep. They keep on knocking on your door, see where you have weaknesses, and there they pounce. So that is the case, what we are dealing with presently. And some of these things, Mr. Warren has pointed out that to avoid all of this, don't click suspicious link. You see there's no padlock on the URL parts, and you're just, and you, in fact, you're even warned that this particular place you're going is not secure. But then, because of whatever services you think you want to enjoy, which is a trap, you go ahead to clicking it, not knowing what exactly they are stealing from you. And of course, don't open untrusted emails. I mean, some emails actually do go to spam for a reason. All right, because it has met some of the requirements, set up by Microsoft. That, oh, these are suspicious email. So when they are in spam, don't, out of curiosity, except the person, sending this email across to you. Out of curiosity, you want to go in and check, oh, what is in my spam, and You only just have to hover around that particular email, and of course, you're affected. These are measures. I don't want to go so many details because we are actually looking at time. Many of which Mr. Warren has actually touched. And some of these things we are organizing to help you as users. Because we will still go over to the part where, of course, we have time where people just give out their information anyhow on Twitter, and you see a particular thread to say, oh, let's see a picture of you 5 years ago. You take part in it and send your 5 years ago picture. You see the same person saying 10 years ago. Over time they continue building a profile for you with all of this information they are collecting. They say, oh, share your birthday, your birthday, share your number with your birthday mates. People will start posting their birthday. From like that, if you go over the thread of this different thread, you see that you see a pattern. They are trying to create something, but then people just mindlessly you know take um you know take part in all of these things. But to save ourselves of the time, so these are some of the things we just put up to educate you as our users, so that to be more mindful, when using your mobile devices. And of course, I'll maybe, if time permits, go over the some of the information collected by TikTok. Some of us are on TikTok, all right. So, but you'll be shocked when I read parts of their what they collect in their privacy policy. They usually look at you in the face anytime you use the app. So I'll stop here for now. Mr. Warren, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Michael. All right, so before I go on, the first time I actually experienced ransomware, it was a shocker to me. It was actually on Christmas Day that year. Um, I got a notification. Christmas Day, I was eating Christmas dinner with my family.
That they know
Right.
you'll be happy. And
I was eating Christmas dinner with my family, and I got a notification. So what was happening here? I quickly logged into the computer to see what was happening, and lo and behold, they had taken over my computer. They're taking over my personal computer, and then they dropped what's it called, a notepad on the desktop that I should open it. I opened it, and they said, well, they've been trying to hack me for so long, and that they finally got successful, and that I tried, that my computer was actually very secure, but there was just something I didn't do right to secure myself, and then they now put their Bitcoin wallets that I should transfer money there. I should transfer, was it $60,000? That if I transfer $60,000, they will release the computer. I said, 60,000. Maybe if I have $60,000, will I be? I just formatted the laptop, started it all over again. And that is because I had the backup of my data, right? I backed up my data to the cloud, right? So, but again, this can happen to anybody, right? Your mobile phone can be taken over, your laptop can be taken over. It's always important to update your computers. Don't keep it off. Don't say, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. There's a reason why these patches or this software updates are coming. And if you're getting them, I think they release them every Tuesdays, if I'm not mistaken, either Tuesdays and Thursdays. Microsoft releases them. For your mobile apps, from time to time, your OEMs release security updates, should update them. And of course, the Optimus app, once every little while, we update the app. From a product perspective, we bring in new features, we bring in new security features, we bring in things that will make your user experience, a memory, an enjoyable one, right? So I'll endure us to practice safe hygiene whenever we are online. Even there are certain websites that you would even go to and it will ask you to click on the captcha. You have to, to show you traffic lights or show you fire hydrants. That's an additional security layer. It means that those guys are very serious about their security. They don't even want to accommodate. They want to, first of all, they want to know where the traffic is coming from. They don't want to deal with bots, and they don't want to accommodate anybody that will come and give them stress, right? So let's ensure that we practice safe internet use and also ensure that we we don't expose ourselves unnecessarily, so that our financial apps don't get taken over. All right. Without much ado, I'm going to go through very quickly the compliance, regulatory, and legal angle. Right. So you try to sign up to Optimus. We'll ask you, tell us who you are. Right. Take a selfie. Give us your BVN. Give us some information about you. Give us your mobile number. Yes, I already talked about identity theft earlier, right? Obviously, we're good actors. We're not threat actors. Certainly, those things, if it falls into the wrong hands, they could be used against you. But obviously, we're trying to help you to become financially independent. For those who are looking for financial independence, and for those who are trying to grow their wealth, we're trying to help you grow your wealth, right? So definitely from a regulatory perspective, these are things that our regulators ask us to ask you to submit, right? And the reason for that is because of a number of things that I mentioned earlier. Number one, the banking rules. The CBN mandates that we gather this information because of anti-fraud. If ever there's a fraud against you, maybe somebody mistaken for some very weird reason finally hacked you, they want to be able to trace where the funds end up, so that at least at the very minimum, they can help you recoup your money back, right? And that's why they ask this information. Another reason is because of the anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing regulation by the Securities and Exchange Commission, right? So these are regulatory bodies that actually require us to collect this data. It's important for us to collect this data so that we're able to properly identify you, right? On our systems, we're able to properly identify you. That actually makes it easier for us to onboard you when we're asking you for your BVN, right? Otherwise, we will have to be asking you to complete very long forms. But because you've already done your BVN somewhere else, so that data just automatically helps us to populate your identity and any other thing that regulation requires, so that your process of onboarding becomes a lot easier and your user experience becomes even easier, right? In addition to this, the Nigerian Data Protection Act actually protects you. You as a consumer, you have rights as an individual, right? You have the right to request for the data. You have a right to request from us or to request from any organization about what data they have about you. You have a right to be forgotten. You have a right to say, look, I'm done. I don't want to do business with you anymore. Delete my data. You have that right under the Nigerian Data Protection Act. We're not saying you should delete your Optimus app. Don't delete your Optimus app. Just please stick with us. You're loyal customers, right? And any feedback you give us, we will obviously take that feedback and we'll do better. So you have rights as consumers under the Nigerian Data Protection Act for your data to be protected or to be used for the purpose which we have determined that it should be used for. And very, very soon, you're going to, for new people that are going to be onboarded, there is the BVN, I agree, which will be coming on sometime in the near future. That feature essentially is a requirement for you to agree or confirm that you are comfortable with us based on our terms and conditions for us to process your data in the way that we that you're comfortable with, right? So once you have, I mean, when the I agree feature comes on in the near future, once you agree, then it gives you an additional comfort for you to know that yes, you have consented, and we on our end have also done all of the things that we're supposed to do as far as ensuring your data protection on our systems, right? And I've talked about some of these regulations and compliance, and the implication for you, like I've mentioned, is that you have rights. In addition to the rights, we also implore you to report incidents. If there are things that you see, there are things that you observe, there are things that you identify, or there are things that you are concerned about, or if there are questions that you have, queries, inquiries, if there are things that you really are unsure of, you can actually reach out to us through our customer service help desk, and I'll share that with you towards the end of this presentation. But it's important for you to report this incident. The reason is because as you escalate these things, it actually helps us to look into it a little more deeper, just to be sure, right, that what you see is actually what it is, right? And if it isn't, obviously we will let you know. Maybe it's a bug on your app, maybe you need to update your app or whatever it is, right? We will obviously communicate back to you through the channels which you reach out to us. But once more, I'd like to implore you to please report anything that you see or experience that you're not comfortable with. Right. So, Michael, I would like to bring you on again to come back and talk us through some of this compliance issues with banks and other fintechs.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Warren. So, for fintechs, we've had the cases of how they process personal information. I mean, especially these loan sharks. All right, and where they tell you, or they make you agree that they will have access to your contact information should you default and all of that. And once you default, I mean, you get other your people will then start getting messages that, oh, this person is a thief, has defaulted in payments and the likes. Of course, as Mr. Warren pointed, that is, for the data protection point of view, that is one of the wrong approach to processing personal information, because even the persons that were involved, that their contact was in the loan applicant's phone, they didn't subscribe to any all of these things. They were on their own before the loan applicant came to you to process personal information. So in such cases, just like Mr. Wari mentioned, you have to report such a case, because you were carrying, hustling for your 2K, and somebody just contacted you without your consent that, oh, so and so person has collected loan and the person is a thief. In the first place, who gave you my information? Did I consent to anything? Even if the person, the loan applicant, agrees to these things, it doesn't concern me. you know the only crime I actually committed was that my phone number or email was in the person's phone in all of these things. You know so that is one of the things, regarding personal data, and giving out personal information. Now, I would equally just, this one is not fintech or bank related. I know some of us in this call, we use TikTok. All right, and many of us, we don't know exactly what TikTok collects. Now, I'll just go over technical information TikTok collects about you, just for 20 seconds video for you to dance back rumor, right? And you think you're getting 20 likes. And now I'll just read out some of the things and you'll be shocked. You go to their privacy notice, you see all of these things, and you ask yourself a question: if they have all this information about me, what can they do? If they have, now I'll just start from there. They collect your IP address, your user agent, mobile carrier, time zone settings, identifiers for advertising purpose, model of your device, the device system, the network type, the device ID, your screen resolution and operating system, app. and file names and types in your device, keystroke pattern and reading. So the way you wipe your phone, they collect the data. Keystroke pattern and reading. Battery states. Is this not fun? Audio setting and connected audio devices. This is what TikTok collects. It's not what I came up with. You can go to their privacy and read it yourself. Where you log in from multiple devices, they collect all those information too. And they say we'll be able to use your profile information to identify your activities across devices. They say we may also associate you with information collected from devices other than those you use in logging into a platform. Now think about it. They have all of this information about you, and maybe they have a compromise in their system. Somebody was able to hack um, TikTok and was able to gain all of this information about their users, you inclusive. Now, just ask yourself a question: what can they do? I was watching there was the documentary about Cambridge Analytica and Facebook, where Facebook was giving Cambridge Analytica information about their users without the consent of their users. And what part that really struck me was they have 5,000 data collection points from a particular person. 5,000 data collection points. Even me myself, if I'm taking numbers, I don't know how many I can even count. I can't even count up to 100. Now imagine 5,000. It suffices to say that they equally know you much more than you do know yourself. They know virtually just everything about you. And this is according to your activities online. How you go from one app to the other to submit this, to submit that. Oh, they talk about one politician, you want to be heard, you just put one or two. Oh, there's a giveaway going on. Oh, please, Bumpy, this, there's a that. It's actually your footprint that information could actually be harvested, and all of these things you can be targeted. So these are some of the cases we unknowingly, give out our information. And some of these loan shark actually do go to buy these data hawkers. They call them data hawkers. They can. I know so many people that could use Python, beautiful soup, to scrape up data from just web applications and put it in a tabular form, and all the phone numbers, all the emails that have been submitted in any particular website could be extracted from it. So, um, Mr. Warren has actually emphasized so much about our digital footprint and how we can, minimize to a very very large extent how we give out our data. You know, we don't just give out our data because we want to just. Now, imagine this part of TikTok. We don't know about this part of their privacy notice, but then we want to use TikTok. Now, just ask yourself, if you don't live with anything, just ask yourself, what can they do with this information that they have about me? Because they virtually have everything, both the device you're using and the ones connected devices that is connected to that same device. So they can be able to trace that one using that one you're using to connect to the other one and know your activities there and all other ones that you are connected to that same device. So, think about all of these things. So, I mean, I can't even thank Optimus enough if I'm attending this webinar as an attendee, you know, making us conscious of these activities where we could just put our data, um, drop it anyway. I've equally suffered cases of my own. I'll be very honest with you. And even before my dad passed on as well, he did suffer, one particular withdrawal of his account. And the funny thing about his own was he only just got the ATM card 2 days before, and the next day, yes, and that particular day, his money was wiped out. And what we were saying, the bank was saying the withdrawal was done in One was saying the bank was saying the withdrawal was done in Ikeja, and we were seeing information that on the phone, that is the alert, that it was done in Festac. You know, there's a whole lot of, so in that case he must actually been careless. So these are some of the things we try as much as to educate users on, so as to not have themselves compromised, because they are happy. You can just see how the the attackers attacked Mr. Warren during Christmas, because they know at that mood he will be light, he would want to celebrate, he would just maybe lose guard one way or the other. So these are those social engineering tactics or information that they collect, you know. So thank you, Mr. Warren. I think I'll stop here.
All right, thanks, Michael. Excuse me. Right. So when we are talking about compliance, right, so we're talking about regulations, right? Sometimes we think, oh, why are you asking for this information? Or this thing, I've used another app, it's so easy to use. They don't ask me for all these things. I've been using them for the last 6 months. Or you guys, you ask me for my BVN, or you ask me to do this extra. The reason for some of these things are to ensure that, like Optimus, for example, Optimus is regulated, right? So we're regulated by the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, right? So we're heavily regulated, and we have to abide by the regulations of our regulator, right? And if there are things that they want us or they require us to do, we follow on with these things and bring it into the user experience. Obviously, we have a fantastic product team. We have fantastic product designers that do great research to look at how we can break down that workflow to make your user experience a little more seamless and more friendly and more exciting. But it's regulation. We can't flaunt regulation, and we certainly can't bury our head in the sands and say, oh well, because these other guys are doing it, we should go and follow them. The reward for that, or the resultant effect, would be a fine from the regulators. And if you check the news and you can Google it, you will discover that regulators like the Nigerian Data Protection Bureau, which handles the Nigerian Data Protection Act, has actually funded Nigerian banks. I think to the tune of over 200 million naira. You can actually Google this and check it. The Nigerian Data Protection Bureau funded Nigerian banks. Of course, the names of these banks are withheld, but the idea is that these things are actually beginning to take shape within the financial services industry and even the country at large. It's a slow process, but it will eventually take shape globally at some point in the future. One of the things about ease of access is also the risk involved with using with that ease of access, right? You want to make this thing seamless, you want to make it easy, but then you also have to look at the risk involved as well. And one of the things we do in Optimus, we have a risk-based approach, right? When we're looking at how we bring on features or how we bring on functionalities to make your user experience more seamless. NetHost Limited, Mr. Michael, who was speaking earlier, are partners when it comes to cybersecurity compliance, and they help us with our data protection. And one of the things that we do, I think it's been the third year running since it was initially enacted by NIDA. One of the things we do every year is to do an audit, right? So we do an audit every year, which we file with the Nigerian Data Protection Bureau. And I'm pleased to say that Optimus is compliant as far as the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation or Act is concerned. We also do what you call vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. We recently completed one just a couple of weeks, last week, I think. Yeah, and this is something that we do regularly. It's a continuous process. We run this process almost on the daily or weekly process. We run it regularly, but at least 4 times a year we get out a deep dive audit to look at our security posture and to be able to say, look, we have a clean bill of health, right? It's just like you taking your car for a service, or you going to a doctor for a general health check. Nothing's wrong with you, but you just want to go to the doctor to tell you that, yeah, you're good, you're in good shape. It's the same thing. We take the pain to work through work with our engineering teams, and our quality assurance teams to make sure that everything, as far as the software development is concerned, as far as your data security or privacy is concerned, as far as your user experience is concerned, all of these things are in line with the provisions of the regulation. One of the things that we also do, as far as the Nigerian Data Protection Act is concerned, is privacy by design, or privacy by default and by design. That is to say that, and I'm pleased to tell you that your Optimus app that you're holding in your tab or your mobile phone or even your browser, right? From the time you open the app to logging in and all that, your data is actually encrypted both in transit and at rest. What does this mean? It means that the data, whether you're putting in your username and password or you are transacting on the app, this is actually very secure and cannot be intercepted in motion. And even when it gets to the points where these things are happening, in the processes, right, it also cannot be intercepted. These are what our cybersecurity partners have helped us to sit down and look at to verify that, yes, we have actually done what we say we do, right? So the idea is that we take data privacy very seriously, right? And we also ensure that in our design, in our process, in our workflows, in our engineering, in our quality testing, right? Privacy is prioritized. It's not an afterthought. It's not, oh, the regulators are watching, watching also, so we have to quickly go and do something. No, this is something that we ensure that is built into our workflow, our processes, as we continue to build new features, as we continue to enhance existing features, as we continue to make improvements that cause you to make updates to the app on your phone. So, this is just to let us know that, yes, we abide by all regulatory requirements, and we are fully compliant with every necessary information security and data privacy compliance and regulatory requirements. All right, so moving on. Now, I've talked about how we protect the Optimus app, obviously, right? So I talked about encryption, talked about regular security audits, I talked about strong data protection policies, right? So that's what we do for you at Optimus, right? But as users, you also have your own responsibility, right? And what are your responsibilities? We've talked about this before. We want you to ensure safe usage practices, like I've discussed. Ensure that you stay safe online, ensure that you use strong passwords, ensure that the emails that you receive, you're able to tell the difference between what is a fake email and what is a real email. Just ensure that you practice safe hygiene online. And then we also talked about reporting suspicious activity, escalating it. We have a customer service help desk where these informations can be escalated to, right? Right, so our role as Optimus is to secure your investments, right? So we ensure that your transactions are secure, right? We ensure that you receive regular updates on our app, right? And we also ensure that you have customer support whenever you need it, right? So customer support, yes, Monday to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. They are there. On weekends, they also come online. When you drop tickets online, they will respond. And on public holidays as well, they run skeletal on public holidays. So that tells you that we prioritize your feedback, right? We're always looking forward to your feedback so that we can take that feedback and act on it, and with the hope to respond within a very short time frame, right? So let's bring in this conversation to a close here. So very key takeaways. There's obviously a balance between technology and regulations. Technology is there to make our lives easy, right? Technology is there to bring convenience to us. Technology is there to help us do very complex things in an automated way, right? But then regulation is there to protect us, right? To ensure that businesses and organizations don't become cowboys, right? So, but so one of the things that we've discussed is that at Optimus, we abide by regulations, but we also work from a consumer perspective to make sure that as we're looking at these regulations, as we're practicing, as we're bringing in what the regulators require us to have in our app or in our technology, that we bring in, we ensure that you're secure, right? We also make sure that you have the design and the features and all of these things that we're bringing into the app also makes it easy for you to achieve your goals and objectives, right? We've also talked about the importance of personal responsibility, right? Making sure you stay safe online, practicing safe online hygiene, making sure that you read those fine prints about those apps before you download them. Make sure you read them. Check out what these apps are likely to have access to before you download it. Always make sure that you're aware. Practice awareness before you download these apps, because there's a strong possibility that if you download an app that is not safe, it would capture your keyboard strokes. It will capture data that you didn't know you were giving away, just by reason of the fact that this strange app is on your phone, or this strange app is on your laptop. It's collecting your data, and somebody somewhere else in another part of the world is either going to sell this data or even use the data to either impersonate you, hack you, or disrupt you, right? So it's very important for us to take personal responsibility. And then finally, stay informed. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on all of the different social media channels. I'm sure Victoria will talk about them at the end of this presentation. Stay informed. We always keep you informed through our social media channels, and stay proactive. Reach out to us if you need anything. Like I mentioned, we're always available through our customer service channels to assist you, right? And I'm not going to recap the points because I've already done that, but it's very important. Cybersecurity is very important. I hope that at least from a very basic perspective, we've been able to give you some basic insights into what cybersecurity is like in personal finance. And with that, I'd like to bring this presentation to a close. So Victoria, the floor is yours. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Ryan and Michael. I've been screaming since because I'm like, what? Really? Especially the one for app updates. I'm one of those people that sits comfortably on that table of, I'll update later, I'll update later. I didn't really know. I did not know that I was doing myself. I didn't know that I'll have myself to blame. If I don't do that, then free Wi-Fi. I mean, I love free Wi-Fi. So you're now saying you have to be careful, VPN. I'm like, I don't even think I know how to like I rarely ever use VPN. I think I've used it just once in my whole life. So I'm like, I wolf true they weren't belle. Thank you so much. Thank you. So before I ask my question, someone is asking, what about joining webinars on various websites such as Google Hangouts, Zoom, and WebEx? Can those be hacked to get our information too?
That is actually a fantastic question. Thanks for asking that question. Right. So I'd like to say that those platforms cannot be hacked unless the meeting IDs and the meeting ID passwords are shared with are shared or are hacked. I don't know if you understand. So, for example, if I set up a Hangout, right, and I send it to my group on WhatsApp, and then somebody mistakenly forwards that to wherever, yeah, definitely you would expect, because that person has access to it, that, they can join your meeting. And if it's a large meeting, you might not even know what it is. One of the beautiful things about these platforms, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts, Zoom, and some of these other online platforms, is that some of them tend to have what I would call a waiting area, right? So when you set up this environment for other people to join, always make sure that you set it up to have a waiting area so that you can easily identify who is joining your meeting, especially if it's a large meeting. So for example, there is a church Google Hangouts that I attend every Monday, for example. Thank God it's a very small one. But whenever I attempt to join it, the other person has to acknowledge or approve me to enter it. So at that point, there is some form of security because somebody has to approve. If that person doesn't approve, then I'm not joining that meeting. So always make sure that you set up that I would call it that waiting room where an approval would be required to bring whoever is going to join the meeting, so that you can vet and be sure of who is coming into your meetings. That's the way to go about it. As far as security is concerned, these are platforms that are around. These are platforms that I can beat my chest and tell you that they have security certifications. They have ISO 27001 information security certification. They have SOC 2 and SOC 3 even certifications. I know Google has it, Microsoft Teams has it, Zoom has it, and some of these very popular ones, the very popular big meeting apps have they're quite secure. So but like I mentioned earlier, if the meeting ID and the password isn't linked, you can be sure that your conversation is secure. It's not hacked. It cannot be jacked because, again, they also abide by the GDPR. Remember, I mentioned earlier that in Nigeria, we have the Nigerian Data Protection Bureau, which is the compliance organization for the National Compliance Organization for Data Privacy. Nigeria is beginning to take data privacy very seriously, and that's why they have a bureau. They have an agency that's responsible for data privacy. And the Nigerian Data Protection Bureau is actually mirrors the GDPR, right? So all of these organizations also are compliant with the GDPR because the GDPR stipulates that these apps, right? So Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts, that they must be compliant with GDPR as far as they collect data of EU citizens. And everybody knows that there are EU citizens scattered all over the globe, right? They are in Asia, they are in Africa, they are in North America, South America, they are in Southeast Asia, they are in Eurasia, they are all over the place, right? So they are in Australia, they are all over the place. So because by mere fact that, in fact, these EU citizens are all over the place, everybody has to be compliant with the GDPR, whether they like it or not. And so because of this, by default, these platforms practice data privacy by default and by design. So what it means is that in this meeting that we're in, this Zoom meeting is actually secured. Microsoft Teams, if you're using a Microsoft platform, they are secure, and then Google Hangouts is also secure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So I have another question, and it has to be this TikTok thing that Michael talked about. How do we know, right? How do we know? Like, because really right now, I'm thinking I'm a marketing professional. I need to be on these social media platforms. So how do we know when our data has been breached? Seeing that many of us here, we have to be on several platforms, one. Two, are there steps we can take? Like, are there, like, what can we do to try to stay safe? Saying that, I mean, for some of us, we really can't ignore this app. So what would be the checks and balances that we need to carry out just to be sure that we are safe? Like, is there a site we can check to see if we have been breached? If we have, what do we do next, and all of those things?
All right, thanks. That's a brilliant question. So there are three steps. There are three steps that I would say we can take. The first step is that before you download or before you use anything, you need to verify. You need to check what's the fine print like. What if you download this thing to your phone or your mobile device? I'm emphasizing phone because most of us are first, the first access to the internet or to the World Wide Web is our mobile phone, right? We have all of us have mobile phones, right? So check before you download anything. Scroll down a little bit, you will see those informations there. But where you have so many apps on your phone, and I mean you're allowed to have as many apps as you feel like you need, right? So when you already have these things, you also need to check on your device, right? There's a way, depending on the device you're using, whether iOS or Android, there is a way you can actually check the settings on your the privacy settings for each app. So you will need to go into the settings on your phone and then go into the apps, right? And then when you go into the apps, you look at the list of all the apps that are downloaded. So you click on each app, and then when you click on it, it will expand it to tell you what each of these apps have access to, right? So that's number two. Number three, how do you check? And there's a fourth way. Number three, how do you check, right? So there are websites that typically when there's a data breach, right? I know in this part of the world, our maturity as far as information security or cybersecurity is not so matured like that, right? But in developed countries and globally, when there is a data breach, it's usually reported, right, to the ombudsman, to the agency, right? These things are reported. And when they are reported, obviously they investigate and all of these things. And then they put out a circular out there to let the general public or the rest of the world know that this platform was breached. And this is how they were breached and all of that. And then remediations, what you should do to protect yourself, right? So information will go out, right? But how you check? So there are websites that you can check. One of them is have I been pawned, right? So pawned meaning, so you will type this all out. Have I, HAVEIBWNPWNED. Have I been pawned, right? So it's, a play on the words, have I been owned, right? And that word pawned is from, I don't even want to go into it because computer geeks who are also computer gamers actually, converted the word owned to pawn. So if you go on the website, have I been pawned, PWNED.com, right? And then you put in your email address, it will tell you what websites what platforms your data has actually been breached. So it's important for you to check from time to time whether you've been breached or not. And even some of these hackers are so arrogant. They are so arrogant to the point that when they hack and they steal data, they actually go and they put this information out there that we have breached this platform, right? So once they put out this information out there, it goes out there, and then if you check your email address, in fact, they even put the database out there to say these are the email addresses of the people that we have their data. right? And this happens regularly. Hackers that steal data, they don't even keep the data anymore. They actually publish it that we have this data. So if you check that have I been pawned, there's a strong chance that you would discover whether you've been hacked or you've not been hacked. Another way for you to discover, if you use apps like LastPass, if you use, Google have a password manager now called Google Password Manager or something like that. If you use these tools, right, they can actually tell you if your passwords have been hacked, or if your passwords or if your access to those platforms have been hacked. So those are ways or steps for you to first of all verify, and then lastly check that you have either been hacked or not. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Warren. That's insightful. Someone's asking, lately I have been receiving a notification from Chrome that I logged in with a compromised password. In recent days, whenever I log into any site via Chrome, even an application, Chrome notifies me that I've logged in with a compromised password. What does this mean for me, and what danger lies ahead? Thank you.
That's a brilliant question. So thanks for that. Thanks for asking that question. So I experienced this 2 weeks ago. I logged into my computer and it was telling me, oh, your password, blah, 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 similar messaging, right? And the default thing to do is to change your password. Just change your password. And make sure, like I explained earlier, you don't use basic password. You don't use dictionary. Like my password can be questions 2, 3, 4, right? That's not a good password, right? Use a complex password. Like let me create a password for you right now. So my surname is Oluwasonya, right? So my password I could use my surname as my password. I'm not saying everybody should do this. Find your method, but make sure you follow through, right? So instead of using the capital O, I would use a 0. Then instead of then I'll put the LU instead of an A, I would maybe put an at. Then instead of an S, I'll put a 5. And then the A again, maybe I'll put an at NYA or something. Maybe the last A can be a capital A or something. Just mix it up a little bit, and then you put in some special characters, maybe dollar, because I like dollars, right? So you could put dollar before and after, any of the special characters, underscore, exclamation mark, asterisk, whatever it is, just spice it up a little bit. This makes it difficult for any dictionary attack, right? The reason I say that is because it's ordinarily what it would take for a hacker to hack my surname, for example, because my surname is in the public domain, right? If I mix it up a little bit, it would actually take, years for them to come up with a combination that is equal to what I have just created as my password. So my advice to you would be to change your password, and hopefully you won't be getting that notification anymore. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Warren. I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And for the person who asked, would it be mailed? Yes, it will be mailed. I'm sure you've had a very insightful session. This was very insightful. Thank you so much, Warren. Thanks so much, Michael. Right now, I'm going to read our privacy policy note on every social media platform because I'm not about to be blamed. Okay. Yeah, Mike. Michael.
Hi, I'm still here. Yeah. So my advice, read that privacy policy is very, very important. Yes, you want to get their services, you want to use the application, all right, but be mindful enough to see, because it's an exchange, all right. You are receiving services for your data, and trust me, you hear a lot that the data is the new oil. It is true. Decisions are made using data. companies are projected whether forward or backward using data. Everything revolves around data. So ask yourself whether you are willing to give this kind of data, um, for this service. Because I'm so sure that, for those that actually do understand, if they know the extent TikTok was, intending to go, they probably wouldn't have, subscribed to using TikTok. You know, you could do a poll and find that out. So thank you very much.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you. So, like for those of us that have to be on it, I mean, because of our job description or whatnot, right? What do we do? Like, what's your advice? Because again, we have to eat, and to eat, we have to
Yeah,
work.
but the truth, the truth about it is, as much as they don't really have legal basis, to this extent, we actually do have no choice. I'll be very honest. We do, like, we want to use TikTok to reach out, some of our prospective customers that we could get through TikTok, right? And we must provide this information to get to use TikTok. So it's just as though we don't, have a choice, in that regard. But for some other of us, like myself, that I don't have to use it for business, I do have a choice. So, for those people that do have a choice and can live without it, you, of course, you can just stay where you are and not use TikTok. But for us,
But
that's
if you can't avoid downloading TikTok, then just get a phone that you know that yes, get a device
yeah,
that doesn't have your data on it, and then you can use that
exactly.
for your TikTok.
So
Just
because
get
Hmm.
a small phone,
yeah,
that is just for work, that kind of
Hmm.
thing, and then just do your TikTok
so
And
on
a
there.
different email
Then,
address.
and a
yeah,
different email address, correct?
so
Yes.
just
Yeah.
just to ensure that they have the minimal access to your life as possible, your personal life as possible. It's really important.
Hmm. Thank you so much. This was quite insightful. Right now, I'm going to go and write on my social media platforms because I've learned a lot. They'll think that maybe I'm a cybersecurity expert. So now that I've come from a webinar, that's me so much. Thank you so much, Warren. Thank you, Michael. Someone is saying thank you was quite insightful. We are very grateful. And for everyone that registered, as long as you registered or you're an Optimus user, we'll send this webinar to you. The link for you to watch the replay again. Thank you. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.